Survivors are the heart of Relay. To share his story, please welcome 2010 California Hero of Hope, Kyle Restad.
Hello. How's everybody doing? I want to start with a quote. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Alice Earl Morse. What does that quote mean to you? I'm blessed today to share the gift of some of my yesterdays, as well as my excitement for the tomorrows that lie ahead. I'm going to share with you my story and ask for help from you in two ways, by using Relay for Life and this amazing vehicle we have with us today. I had my introduction to cancer when I was just 3 years old. I lost my grandfather to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I know him only from pictures. Shortly after he passed, his wife, my grandmother, was diagnosed with breast cancer and lived with it for 17 years, all the time that I was growing up. It started out with me knowing that my grandma was sick. And what I did know is that my grandma, who lived a good 3-4 hours away, would come and stay with us for a week. And it was amazing because she would stay up late at night. It may have been 8:30, I don't know, I was just a kid. And we would play cards. She won every single time and let us know about it too. As the cancer progressed and she got sicker and sicker, what I realized is those trips to come visit us were so my mom could drive her to and from the hospital. Didn't have Road to Recovery, or she didn't use it. This was back in the rural Midwest. During a routine treatment or a visit to us, I know she lost the use of her right arm. I was maybe all of 5th grade, very naive and a little selfish, because I'm thinking, okay, how is she going to play cards with us with one hand? Little brat kid, huh? So she had this plastic contraption that she had found that she was able to place in her arm and was able to play with us, and she was as mean and destined to win as ever. And what I learned from that is we move onward despite obstacles with no complaints and no fuss. I still remember as clear as day her greenish yellow face as she took her final breath. She had no pain, no feeling of any sorts. The morphine in her system made sure of that. And when she went, it was time to go. The circle of life's events are strange. You see, my mom had just finished 6 weeks of radiation for breast cancer, and I know this is one time she definitely did not want to be just like Mom. One thing very similar again, moving onward, despite obstacles, no complaints, no fuss. It was something she just had to get done. So unfortunately came back in the same breast within a couple years, and she was forced to have a mastectomy. Again, something that was just done. I was away at college and hardly knew much about it. And so she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. Take you fast forward to the summer of 2000. I'd finished up in college. I was working as an investment advisor down in Southern California. I was set to be married to the love of my life in just a couple short months, and I had, as they say, the world on a string, had everything figured out, or so I thought. During a routine trip to the restroom, I noticed blood in the stool. If you've seen the Greater Bay Redwood Empire t-shirts, it's about that red. I was 24. I hadn't been cut down there. I had no idea what was going on, had no pain, no anything, and I wasn't aware of anything that could be wrong if nothing hurt. But I knew the first thing I needed to do was what? Call my doctor. I heard more women's voices than men's voices, but just what it is. So I called up my doctor, and he said, Kyle, you know what, it may be nothing, but let's just come check it out. He did the FOBT test, the little poop swab test, and even though I hadn't had any blood in the stool for another week or 2 weeks, I was thinking it was going to be great. I went in there for the results, and he said, we need to schedule for this other test. It's called a sigmoidoscopy. Any of you familiar with that one? Usually the 50 and over crowd, I got things in common with here. So it's where they take the camera through the exit, and on a computer monitor just like this. I remember being in that room with the GI doc, and I think at that time I'd finally gotten my family involved, and my fiance was there, and I remember looking on the screen, and I heard the GI doc saying, "Oh my." Now, remember, my background's in finance. I didn't know much about medical terms, but I figured if I went to the medical dictionary, "oh my" probably isn't in there. And it wasn't. And what ended up happening is my whole, the first section of my colon was just all polyps, basically. And I learned what a polyp was. It can turn into colon cancer if things aren't taken care of. So he said, "Kyle, I want to schedule for this colonoscopy, the full scope." And I said, "Okay, doc, that sounds great. I've got a scheduling conflict. I've got a wedding to go to, and I'm actually in it. So we're going to have to wait." So we went off to the wedding, the honeymoon, and came back. And long story short, my entire colon was riddled with polyps. You can't remove them all. So what they recommend doing with that is a total colectomy. Because of a blood test that had shown up, I was positive for familial adenomatous polyposis. Say that 3 times fast. And it's a rare 1% of all colon cancer, and it just, as I hit puberty, and the polyps just started developing and growing and growing. So they checked out the rest of my family, being it is a genetic condition. My dad was fine. My older sister was fine. My 20-year-old brother, who got a colonoscopy courtesy of yours truly. That was a nice payback for all the times that we fought maybe as a kid. But unfortunately, my mom wasn't so lucky. So you'll see up here. Stupid pictures. So May of 2001, we went to UCLA, and I actually got my entire colon removed. I have a scar that I see every single day. My mom had it done too. This is in the hospital. So, but I mean, obviously I'm here today. We've recovered. We had our large colons out. If you go to UCLA, it's on wax. You can actually go visit it if you want to. But we tell people we have semicolons. So that's my yesterday. I'm really excited about my today, which, well, this was actually... The picture before that is actually a picture of me and my mother and my nephew speaking at the 2002 Board of Directors meeting that I was told to come and speak at. I didn't realize it was going to be this many people. I'd never spoken a day in my life. But this is me at the last Napa to Sonoma Half Marathon, and I believe we need to relish the todays. And we need to be focused on 2 things, and this is why I'm looking for your help. We need to be focused on awareness and advocacy. I spoke at an event up in Petaluma about a month ago, and I had a gentleman came over afterwards, and he said, "Kyle, I've had blood in my stool 20 times. I don't know what to say." I've heard other cancer survivors that have had things, and they say, "Well, it was just stress, or it was just that, or I just figured I had stuff going on." You know what? If something doesn't seem right, get it checked out. I've heard other things. We've mentioned our Heroes of Hope class about if a doctor says, "I don't think you need to do that." If you want your mammogram, you're going to get your mammogram. Awareness. You know your body more than anyone else does. Men, get stuff checked out. I've had others that said, "I'm too embarrassed to deal with this." Well, if you don't deal with it, you may not be around to deal with your kids growing up and your grandkids growing up. And I have no problem saying that. The second thing is become an advocate for health. A lot of people put more effort and energy into worrying about how they treat their car than how they treat their body. We focus on what fuel we put in our car, but we're not focusing on what we put in our body. And I've got my vices. I love dark chocolate, and moderation's totally fine, but just keep that in mind. And in closing, what I'd love to do, my story is one of many. I want to, before we recognize our survivors, I've got a new name. We need to change from surviving to thriving. We don't want to just survive. So if we could have all of our thrivers stand up and be recognized, please. We're going to And as it says, we're going to continue to celebrate more birthdays. Thank you, each one of you, for everything you do.